Where's Penny H? I've got her.
It was shortly after you. Callum left after you.
Your Worship,
Where's Penny H?
so
Well, she was going to be the next speaker, but you can start, Councillor Alpha.
no, look, I'm going to ask a question here, and I'm glad that Councillor Lee is here. I'm just forever hearing Councillor Lee comment and pick on our staff. And that's just so typical.
Order,
that's
please.
just so typical. So
Come on.
Order. Okay, so yeah,
Go, Mike.
Councillor Mike, sit down,
Here we
please.
go.
This is an opportunity for us to debate together without involvement of those who are present. So I do want to pick up the point that Councillor Alpha is making.
Thank you.
Staff, as I've said on many occasions in this chamber, don't have the right of reply.
Mr. Mayor,
really?
What is wrong with you,
Mayor,
Mike?
can we just
See what I
actually
mean?
have a little bit of decorum, please?
Yeah.
I find
He's
that
arrogant.
really offensive. Really
Yeah.
offensive.
All I asked are for progress. I haven't criticised the staff at all, except to point out they're not the elected
Hang on.
representatives of the people.
they
We
not?
are. And it's time we got on with our
Order,
business.
please.
You're a bully. You're just a bully, Mike. You're a bully.
And I just want to say that they do not have the right of reply, and we should show respect for them.
Can I hear what I said?
Councillor
that was
Mike, I
wrong?
beg your pardon, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the whole chamber. So calm down.
Well, you mentioned my name.
And because Councillor Alf was talking
Thank
to you. So let's remember, for whatever period of time we are going to be sitting here and making a final decision, that we should respect the staff. They are doing the best they can, and they're operating within professional parameters, and that's it. So no attacks on the staff. Okay, Councillor Penny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got the recommendations up there, which I'm very happy to move. And can we just check and make sure that we've got, so all the recommendations are up there, and I do have two other recommendations which I would like to add to this group with the agreement of the seconder. I just want to make a couple of points. There's been an awful lot of discussion this afternoon, and I think some very good questions have been asked and some very good answers have been given, and I acknowledge most warmly our staff for their knowledge, their expertise and their commitment to this process. I also acknowledge that this is actually a very hard thing for some of my colleagues to be working through, and the worry that I have is that this has been redacted down to winners and losers. If you have an up-zoned area, you're a loser, and if your site's down-zoned, you're a winner. This is just completely missing the point. That what we've been working on for the last 5 years is actually a plan for all of Auckland. A bit up, a bit out, well-planned, good transport networks and fantastic urban design, and this is just part of it. So we can stay enmeshed in this debate around process, and as the afternoon wears on, I'm not too sure whether this is a useful debate around the process or if this is simply just, as a few speakers have said, you know, a way of holding at bay imminent decision making. So, you know, process is as different to each an individual councillor around this table as they believe it to be. However, on the issue of natural justice and in and out of scope, it's the panel who will make that decision. And the independent hearings panel are just that. They are an independent hearings panel and they are non-political, because we've got ourselves in quite a schmozzle trying to work out in and out of scope and natural justice issues. So the right thing to do is actually continue following the process. We've had a lot of lectures about process today. The right thing to do is to follow the process and leave it to the panel to make those calls. That is the sensible thing to do. The bit that worries me the most, Mr. Mayor, which is why I'm very happy to move these recommendations, is when you look at the other submissions, and Housing New Zealand's a very, very good example, in an area like Onehunga, in an area like Eden Albert, and in areas like Glendowie and down south, they are bullish about what they're asking for. They are pretty committed, and the Minister has made no secret of the fact that he has had Housing New Zealand, and speaking to Housing New Zealand board members today, he's had them on the mat in Wellington saying, get on with it, make this happen fast, and let's make this process work. So if we think that a group of community organisations and amateur planners can hold out against the might of the government and Housing New Zealand and Mr. Mayor, I'm quite unbowed.
Order,
Mr.
please.
Mayor, I'm quite unbowed. I don't believe,
Order,
I
please.
do not believe that this is dignified, nor I think is this sensible to have barracking and bullying in this chamber, and it doesn't change my mind at all, nor does it frighten me or worry me. I don't believe that community organisations and community planners can stem the tide against a very forceful, lawyered-up organisation like Housing New Zealand, 1,300 pages of evidence so far and counting from what I understand. And if people are that worried about upzoning and changes, well, where is the council to be able to moderate, modify and ameliorate some of this change? There's been a lot of talk today about let's get the community voice in there. Well, moving to remove the out-of-scope changes takes the council expert planners and lawyers right out of the picture, and there's no opportunity for comment. And I'm interested, we've had a lot of presentation of legal advice and planning advice. You're all entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Some facts simply are that. They are legal facts and they are legislative facts. No matter how you view them, they sit as fact and law, and you may disagree or agree, but that's simply it. So, Mr. Mayor, the second point I wish to make, and the other recommendations that are there, is there were some wise words from some of our presenters about a circuit breaker. No, I don't think removing the out-of-scope side of our evidence is the circuit breaker that's needed. What we need is to let the panel get on with it. They've got 2 months of hearing ahead of them, and people can join the process, as we've heard quite correctly. I'd like to move, and with Councillor Filipaina's support, that we also ask our Chief Executive to help us come up with a process that I've given some thought to, and basically to look at an opportunity for our community in these areas that consider that they are affected, and others, to talk through what their concerns are. This information can then be passed to the panel, and we can also use it if necessary, and if that's the right process and doesn't compromise us legally, when we come to our July-August decision making. One of the things that I realised listening to today is that there's an awful amount of misinformation. There's hyperbole out there talking about huge upzonings, and then when we get the actual facts, we find out that we've simply returned to what you can actually do currently under the old Auckland City Council plan. So I'm hoping to get some support for this wider community process and see if we can actually get a much richer conversation happening out with our community. Whatever happens today, I mean, I'm pretty relaxed about whatever direction we take. But I think in July and August, that's where we really need to separate. And Ms Bright reminded us that when we took that oath of office, we were elected to represent the whole of Auckland. Now, some of us take that really seriously. We're not just represented or to represent our own backyard. It is all of Auckland. And that's future generations, people who own homes, people who don't own homes, not just the ratepayers in our area. So, Mr Mayor, I hope there will be some support for the community process that I'm recommending, and I'm certainly very comfortable with us referring this and continuing to refer this to the panel to make, in their wisdom, the in-scope, out-of-scope decisions, and to pick up the issues of natural justice, that if we're genuinely concerned about those, we'll proceed with the process. Thank you.
Okay, good. Right, Councillor Alf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't canvass what the Deputy Mayor has just said, but I do, however, want to push some facts on the table. Your Worship...
Councillor Alf, you formally second all of this, don't you?
Yep, done it. Yep, knew about them. So there's no problems with those, Your Worship. Thank you. Your Worship, I just wanted to to sort of start off and say, with the unitary plan that the ADC and the work program that all the councillors around this table ticked off with, around the unitary plan, every councillor on this table around here had the opportunity, as they always do, in regards to attending subcommittees, that they can go on to that particular committee. Everybody. Now, there's been 2 councillors here that have sort of mentioned the word democracy and mentioned the fact that I did not have a vote. You had the opportunity to come on the committee. You obviously had other better things to do than go on to the committee.
What a lot of bollocks.
Well, firstly,
Hang
don't
on,
be
hang
rude.
on, hang on.
That's
The
one
committee
thing.
was stacked from the start.
Just
Order,
don't be rude.
please.
That's all I want to say.
Could the councillors stop attacking other councillors?
That would be a very good idea. Thank you, Councillor Wayne.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you. So, Your
Councillor
Worship, yep, I'm just saying that, and facts is that everybody had the opportunity to go on the committee.
Point of order.
Yes?
Thank you. It is being suggested that some of us couldn't be bothered. I would like your confirmation that when I came to you and said with the unitary plan, because you knew my view that it had been very controversial, you assured us that we would have the opportunity on anything controversial because it would go to the Auckland Development Committee. And for me, that has been a breach of promise. And so I want Alf to remove that comment because I would have been very happy to have gone on the Unitary Plan Committee if I had known that you were going to break your promise on important
hang on,
decisions
hang
going
on,
to the
hang on.
Auckland Development Committee.
Oh, Councillor Chris, come on. Crikey.
Well, how did Councillor
No, look,
Pierce's
just...
recent membership
look,
come about?
You're asking one person to withdraw while you're
Gemma.
making nonsense statements on
Point
the
of
other.
order.
But just
order.
stop. Just stop, Councillor Wayne. Now, Councillor Alf, the comment has been made. Just keep yourself focused rather than make any comments about what your colleagues should or shouldn't have done. Let's keep focused on the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Point of
Your
order,
Worship.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, your point of order is?
Point of order, misrepresentation. Misrepresentation of any statement made by a member or by an officer or employee of Auckland Council. Now, speaking to that, as far as the Unitary Plan Committee is concerned, the membership of that committee and of committees is determined by the Mayor. So it was yourself that selected the people on that committee, and it was
sorry,
not
I got
possible.
over all your... Sorry.
That is correct.
No, look, it's not a point of order. You're raising an issue of what the political structure is, and it's not true. We actually either volunteer or appoint each other onto committees, as you know. I have a responsibility as the Mayor to appoint the chairs and appoint the political structure. Right, Councillor Alf, can you just carry on?
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. So, Your Worship, with when we ended up going through all the unitary plan committees, all the agendas, as everybody knows around this table, all the agendas were sent out to elected members, to local board chairs and to local board advisors. They knew right through the beginning of this whole process that any of the items on the agenda, they could come through and then discuss and debate those particular issues with the Unitary Plan Committee. I just wanted to put that on the table. Now, Your Worship, the question I asked of John, and the question was in regards to whether we can, at hearings, put any evidence apart from having lawyers present. And we were told no, we could just have the lawyers there. Well, Your Worship, from my perspective, and I, for me, rather be in and at the table when the hearings start. That's what I'll do. I want to put our position in regards to hearing from people who don't want upzoning or any upzoning in their area to those, and in particular Housing New Zealand Corporation. And Your Worship, I just wanted to mention some stats around the actual evidence that I've read from Housing New Zealand Corporation, and it just sort of outlines the extent they wish to intensify. I mean, in the North Shore area, our proposed position as of January of this year was 15% for mixed housing urban. They want to push that up to 38.3% for THAB. Our position as of January is 19%. They want to go to 28.7% For the West, mixed housing, urban 38.4, but Housing New Zealand wants 60.3. THAB, we've put in 6.8. They want 9.2 for Central. Mixed housing unit 30.8. They want to go to 51.3%. And THAB, they want to take our position of 20.2. They want to push it up to 38%. Your Worship, we need to be around that table when we start the hearings in April. We need to be around that table. That's all I'm asking the councillors here. We need to be there. We've got the advice and independent advice from Meredith Connell in regards to what the ramifications are if the outer scope is taken. And for me, I am speaking on behalf of the 500,000 youth. And I need to applaud and I need to say thank you to Flora and to Alex for coming through and putting their view. I'm glad they did, because it is getting lost. It is getting lost around the vocal through people that are emailing us, and their voice, I'm glad that people heard it. Your Worship, I'm just going to close off on one thing from my perspective, and that is, Your Worship, I as Councillor Holst, Deputy Mayor, said,